You're watching Global News.
Up next, getting a good night's rest, how your food choices can affect the way you sleep. I wonder if pie is on that list. Stay with us.
How are you sleeping during this pandemic? Our sleep patterns can impact our eating. Our eating can impact our ability to sleep. Are you seeing the vicious cycle going along here? Andrea Hallwagner, registered dietitian, joins us this morning to give us some tips, Andrea, because so many people we're hearing from all the time, every day, having trouble sleeping. So you say, let's start by looking at what you're eating.
Yeah, of course, sleep or lack of sleep is a form of stress for people. So we know stress can impact so many things. It really is about, looking at your overall day and maybe some of the foods that you're eating kind of before bed and seeing what we can do to at least try and get your sleep as good as we humanly possibly can.
What is it we should avoid eating before bed?
So first thing to keep in mind is really large meals can make it difficult for us to sleep. And partly that's because, of course, our digestion can be impacted. We can be more prone to heartburn as we're laying down. And it can kind of wake us up, especially if we've had a lot of fluids before bed. Then we got to get up to the bathroom. So really not having gigantic, large-sized meals is going to be the first number one thing we need to take a peek at. But that being said, super important not to go to bed underfed, particularly when it comes to carbohydrates, which our brain needs to run effectively. So if you're not eating enough carbs or following a really restricted carbohydrate or a chronic kind of calorically restricted diet, we find that that'll impact not only the quality of your sleep, but also it may wake you up throughout the night because your brain is looking for what it intuitively wants as an energy source, which is carbohydrate.
Okay, so I just heard you say eat cake before bed. So that's how I interpreted that. I suspect, though, you may have something else in mind.
For sure. I mean, of course, carbohydrates are going to be found in, my favorite food, which is chocolate, or it could be potato chips for you, or all of those delicious carbohydrate-rich foods that are sweet and savory. And certainly there's always going to be room for those. It's never about eliminating those items. Really, it's about finding balance, but we want to maximize, of course, the healthiest, nutrient-dense types of carbs, which we know are also particularly good for sleep and just overall long-term health and mental health. So we're talking about whole grains and your fruits, your veggies, those types of things.
Interesting they don't go to bed underfed. And I'm wondering how the fasting plays into that.
If we don't have enough carbohydrates in our brain throughout the day over a kind of chronic long-term restriction, our body is designed intuitively to run on carbohydrates as an energy source. So your brain needs a good 100 grams of carbohydrate a day to run effectively for the neuro system in general. And so if we're only getting, let's say, like 10 or 20 or 30 grams of carbohydrate as a whole following a really low-carb diet, it can impact your sleep. So if you're, reducing your carbohydrate intake, that's fine, but don't take them all out. We do need some, especially if you're finding that your sleep has been affected. Try adding some additional carbs in your day, especially a little bit before bed, and see if that might actually help you out a little bit.
Interesting. So it's not the fasting, it's the carbs that are the most important factor to do with
carbs
this.
And calories in general. It's kind of both of those things. So even if you had enough carbohydrates, but let's just say you just didn't have enough calories, that can also impact your brain because your body's trying to figure out, why are we in a starved famine state? It's a form of stress for your body, and so it's adjusting things hormonally, which can impact sleep over the long term.
How do we find our calorie baseline?
Oh, you probably just want to work with a registered dietitian because, of course, we are the nutrition experts that can really help you customize how much you need in a day. Certainly, really looking at your overall food intake is important. A whole foods diet rich in lots of plant-based items, really important from an overall sleep quality perspective. And Leslie, you might be curious to know there's a couple of key foods that have actually been shown in research to be sleep enhancing.
Okay, what are those?
So I got a few of them on my set here to point to. The first one over here is actually sour cherries, if you can believe it or not. Sour cherry juice and cherries. These are just canned cherries that I got in a jar because, of course, we're in the middle of winter here. Those can be good things to have maybe as a bedtime snack. Maybe you could put a little yogurt in there, make a little parfait. Really delicious kind of sweet dessert that also might enhance your sleep. We know there's been some research on milk, so you can think of maybe your grandparents suggesting a cup of warm milk might be a good thing before bed, and there is some research to support that. My favorite way to do that would be putting just a little pinch of brown sugar and some pure vanilla extract, and I make kind of like a warm, cozy vanilla milk. If I know it's kind of been an ampy day and I need to, transition into good sleep.
That's a really good idea. You got all this on your website, Andrea?
Absolutely. You can go over to healthstandnutrition.com and read the whole article on all the foods and everything you need to know about sleep.
Okay, so some good tips there, but you're making that warm milk. It doesn't sound like the childhood warm milk. You're making it sound really delicious. Eating and drinking before bed can have an impact on the quality of your sleep. Healthstandnutrition.com is Andrea's website. She's going to give you all the info that you need about that. We're back with some good news for you after the break.